Hi there, Jersey Droz, cartoonist and teaching artist, and today I'm going to ink and hopefully color this drawing of the Generation 1 Transformer named Cosmos. Let's get started right now. And away we go. What am I using for inking? So this was penciled in Clip Studio Paint. That's what I usually pencil in when I'm doing these live stream drawings. And it was printed onto Canson watercolor paper. And these are the tools that I will use to ink. I have a couple of, what are these? Felt tip markers, very tiny ones. These, like microns, that kind of thing. And then two different sizes of brush pen. One long and narrow one, and one shorter one that I use. Oh, and one that I just have not worked out the tip on. Did not get a piece of cheap watercolor paper to roll out the tip on. There we go. I usually use this one for like a lot of dry brush effect, and sometimes I don't roll the tip when I'm done. Rolling the tip meaning like I drag it on the paper and I roll it around so that the tip gets to a fine point again, so that the bristles aren't all spread out when I try to use it for inking. Okay, let's dive in and ink. Oh, watercolors are afterwards. Hopefully I have time. I'm going to try to watercolor this drawing when I'm done. I know I said I was going to do this Robert Burble last week. I still may. We'll see. But the reason... Oh, and I didn't set this up. I should get it where I can show it to you. Yeah. So just I do a podcast called the 4 Million Years Later podcast. And there it is. And we have a TeePublic store, and we just released a new design with Cosmos. This is penciled and inked digitally, but now I'm gonna do an analog ink of it to celebrate the fact this T-shirt just came out. You can get it all sorts of different colors for $13. It looks like at TeePublic. There's the design. It is cute. Okay, back to drawing. So I guess I need to mark this YouTube video with this contains a promotion or advertisement in it. Where do I want to start? I did not have time to do a warm-up drawing today, so my hand is a little bit shaky. For those of you who maybe don't watch Generation 1 Transformer show a lot, and why would you? It's an old cartoon from a long time ago. Just because I grew up with it doesn't mean you necessarily did, or just because I fell in love with it as a child doesn't mean you necessarily did. I have friends who grew up in the 80s who don't necessarily love the Transformers. Anyway, this character, he is this cute little guy who turns into a flying saucer, which is kind of a weird thing. You think of Transformers, you usually think of like trucks and jets and things. Nope, he turns into a little green flying saucer. And while he wasn't necessarily my favorite character, I did tend to like the characters who were on the cute side when I was a kid and as an adult. And a lot of his design is green, and that's my favorite. It's been my favorite color since I was like 6 years old, and I couldn't tell you why. Just for some reason, certain shades of green just are analogous with happiness in my brain. And so there weren't that many Autobots who were green. Actually, there weren't that many Decepticons who were green either. Yeah, you get Springer later on in the Transformers movie, but that was kind of spoiled by the fact that he was just so darn macho. So Cosmos wins because he's cute and he's brave and he's green. He's got the trifecta. I'm going to try to do most of him in brush, but I know that chest panel is going to be some felt tip work. Let's see if I can get... I'm going to move my microphone so I can get in here. And y'all can look at my forehead while I... Cosmos is also a weird character because Mike McConaughey, the actor who played him, was encouraged. I don't know if he was encouraged to or if he chose to. I can't remember how that went. To play him with like a Peter Lorre kind of performance. Peter Lorre, the famous character actor from Casablanca, Arsenic and Old Lace, M. The cereal mascot Boo Berry was based on his performance. And so it's like, I'm curious how you arrive at that. Like, okay, it's a cute little green flying saucer. Oh, I know. Peter Lorre. It's always fun to try to get these very angular straight lines done in brush and try to do it freehand. I remember reading once that Walt Simonson, who works a lot with a crow quill, which is another one of my favorite inking tools, uses a crow quill with a ruler to do his burst lines in effect. And I was just like, how does he do it? I know I have a guess. You probably hold the ruler at an angle and then drag your crow quill along it. But just the thought of doing that, just that kind of coordination. I know it can be done. But I can wonder at how things can be done, even though knowing that I know that they're possible. So why cute and brave characters, Jersey? It's a topic that I know I talk about a lot. And I want to keep picking at it because, to tell you the truth, I don't know if I know I've talked a lot about my affinity for them, but I don't know if I've talked about why. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know for sure what it is. I know at least part of it, a very small part of it, would probably be a sense of rebellion against what I would consider to be like not entirely awesome ideas about masculinity and the use of force. I'm a big fan of stories where the characters use force because they have to, not because they like it. There's nothing joyful about it. And you could say, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger's characters in his movies don't enjoy violence. Well, there's still a celebration of it in his movies. Like, I don't watch Commando and go, like, there's a man using restraint. I think there's probably also something psychological about, like, you see like these cute characters, they feel more like children, like babies. And the idea of somebody who appears helpless, not being helpless. I think a lot of us, well, I won't speak for everybody, but I'll say many of us feel helpless a lot of the time. I feel like that might be part of the appeal. Like the same thing that makes me love animals so much, right? Oh, how am I going to do that arc? How am I going to do it? Take your hand out, Jersey. Deep breath. I'm going to chicken out. I'm going to chicken out and switch to the micron because that'll let me do it slower. And I won't get as much line variation. I think I'm going to try to do that top one, though, with a brush. I want that contour to have a little bit more weight to it. How far am I in? I'm 12 minutes in. I'm always looking at the clock. Why are you always looking at the clock? Because I'm always trying to do these things in under an hour to make a self-contained video and to practice shipping something quickly. Why not do a time-lapse video then, Jersey? Well, like I said, part of it is I want to try to like ship things quickly. So it's about like working on my speed. Also, editing is not something I tend to have a whole lot of time for. I like doing these live streams because it's like I broadcast it and then it's recorded and it's on my channels. And I've heard other kinds of conventional wisdom about that. It's like, well, shorter pre-recorded videos perform better. That's okay. I'll work with that limitation. We're getting there. Wouldn't it be cool if I inked and painted it all in one sitting? Yeah, I agree, Joseph. Yeah, I every once in a while, when Rob and I do a Lean Into Art cast, we run into a scenario where, well, that's going to need to be edited. There was like this clumsy bit where the technology failed or something, right? And it's not that hard to open up a video editor and find the spot that needs to go and just go chop, take it out, push those other parts together, and then process. And Ann and I built a new PC tower to do broadcasting work on. So I've got the machine that has the muscle to do the kind of processing that video editing requires. But it's boring for me. For me, I personally find it very boring and time consuming. And even if it's something that's like, okay, well, I'm going to set it to go in the background, it'll be 20 minutes while that processes. I'm going to get involved in 6 other things in that time. So that's all to say that even if live stream is less of a proven performance tool for YouTube subscribers and whatnot, I can live with it. And, I mean, right now, that moment we just had is also another case for it, right? Is that, like, I can actually talk with people who are watching me and interacting with me. And one of the things that, this is me only talking about my own work, my own business, is that I think the interaction is something I not only thrive on as a cartoonist and teaching artist, but it's something I think that makes a richer experience for me and for the students. Why I don't have a lot of pre-recorded videos on the internet like that are like specifically designed to teach. And I know that there would be a use case for that. There's because then if I pre-recorded something, people would be able to consume it in a time-shifted basis. I get that. But it's like I'm so biased towards live interaction that it's really hard for me to feel motivated around doing something that's pre-recorded. All right, we're almost done. Thanks for being here, Joseph. It's always fun to talk with you. I was actually just recently going through the archives on my Patreon regarding the development of Baron von Bear. Let's see if we can fix that. And when I was posting the first mini comic I made about the character, and I was posting it a few panels at a go, and I was giving a lot of backstory on all the choices I was making creatively. And gosh, Joseph, you were there for the whole journey, and you were always ready to show up with philosophical sort of reactions to everything I was sharing. This is an unusual drawing for me to do in that there's like almost nothing organic on this. Some curves and stuff, but I mean, even with that sea spray drawing I did last week, there was at least the cliffside that I got to ink. Well, hello to Becca too. Doing the art director postcard bit of business. Let's see. I can't see what I'm doing here. My new glasses prescription should be here pretty soon, and I'm so looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to being able to see what I'm doing again. All right, inks are done. How many minutes in? 19 minutes, so I have 40 minutes. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a little darker outline around his little tummy design here. So it doesn't look as much like a sticker. All right. Thanks, Joseph. I'm a little bit still kind of staggering, a little bit of disbelief, because I had all but given up on trying to find a home for that project. I'm so grateful to Iron Circus for believing in it. Speaking of postcards, Becca asked if it's acceptable to send postcards to agents who rep illustrators just to break the ice, or do you just have to follow their submission guidelines? That's a good question. I've not tried. I'm sure. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is that you just get put in a slush pile. But I mean, if the idea is to hit them with an arresting image that'll make them say like, well, I got to find out more about this person. I don't know. I see, and I know we've talked about this, Becca and Joseph, like in some past correspondence on Patreon and other places, is that like I would say almost my anxiety around being in somebody else's inbox, right? I'm gonna switch gears here. But you know what? It's like I'm coming around to this idea of like, you know, they can delete it. People are grown-ups, and if they subscribe to my newsletter, they're asking me to be there. So I don't know. I feel like they're an agent in the arts. They're probably getting a lot of asks. I'm guessing they do. And so, how does that expression go? You don't ask, you don't get? Like, how are they going to find out about you? I mean, yes, there's the regular submission guidelines too, obviously, of course. See if I can get that Cosmos green going. Oh, and I should probably pull up an image. Oh, I've got an image of Cosmos right here because I was pulling up my TeePublic store. A warmer green than I thought. All right. Get this brush nice and wet. I still had some paint in the brush, but that's okay. Actually, this is wind up being helpful for let me know where I've pre-wet the paper. I'm just going to start with this torso. Yeah, the question that Becca asked, it's getting me thinking about like when I worked as a corporate graphic designer for a managed healthcare company. This is like literally almost 2 decades ago. I remember because I was the lead graphic designer, I ran the graphic design department. I got a lot of solicitations in the email from like print companies who wanted our business. And I remember like never feeling like, oh, what an imposition. Like, okay, it's good to know that what's out there and who's interested and who has something to offer. That's their job. Their job is to like find the next big things, right? Yeah, I mean, if going through traditional channels isn't working, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to, and I got my blind spots, and I've got blind spots where I didn't know I had blind spots. So, I mean, obviously take it with a grain of salt, not trying to like spend a lot of time disclaiming, but it's like I am having difficulty seeing the harm that could be done in sending. Because if they're the kind of agent who's like goes on Twitter is like, oh, can you believe this person? Or gets like really angry about that kind of interaction. I'm like, do you want to work with them? I also just feel like best practices is kind of like that's a squishy idea now in the last like 20 years. But also, I would say this, Becca. I'd make sure to let you know that that's an area where I don't have a ton of experience. Most of the So first of all, I fell into getting signed with an agent. I wasn't out querying. So I've got that luck or privilege on my side. But also when it comes to art directors, how did I meet all my art directors? It was mostly word of mouth when I was first starting out. It was like I got recommended to other art directors by the ones I worked with. I was querying when I got my first gig. I was sending out, portfolios and query letters to different ad agencies in Phoenix, Arizona when I was living there. Oh, that is too much paint. Ah, gosh darn it. Get my other brush out and fix that. But I sympathize with that, Becca. That's maddening. It's maddening to have to constantly like sort of put yourself on sale that way. And constantly reaching out to the world saying, here's the value I have to offer again and again and again. And that can be demoralizing and draining. And I think that's why like a lot of like self-helpy people in the arts world really focuses on like, okay, well, you got to remember to understand your value and articulate what you need clearly, because the industry is not going to do it for you. That's tough to manage. I'm getting this not even a shot. There we go. Okay, gotta do his feet. Get the bigger brush out for this. Are we done with greens? No, we're not. I have to do the dark greens now. For that, I'm going to mix some green and brown. That looks right. And because I didn't put a cup of water. Next stream for sure, I'm going to have a cup of water here, and I'm going to have some bigger brushes. As a matter of fact, I found my bigger brushes. They're right next to me. I just don't have any water here. I could go take a quick break and get some water, but I'm not going to. Again, I'm racing the clock here. What have I got? 30 minutes. Okay. That needs more brown, boyo. Cosmos, what else do I have to do on you? Ah! Your little laser guns on your next to your hands with that dark brown green. That's too much brown. Okay, bigger areas. I am not crazy about the way these feet are going. One of the things I'm thinking about trying out soon is gouache. I don't have a ton of experience using it. I have a couple gouache colors in my palette here, but like painting with just gouache, I've not done a lot. And I know that the objectives and outcomes are going to be different. You're out of here. Big brush. I need a little brush now. Time to move to get the little bit of green going with some purple. Oh, am I going to do the Baron von Bear cover in watercolor? Or is that going to be in digital watercolor as well? Right now, I'm thinking that all of Baron von Bear is going to be digital watercolor. I would love to do it all in traditional watercolor. I imagine with Becca's comic, 7-inch Kara, which you can find, Natto Soup everywhere on all social medias. You can see she's doing it all on the boards, and I imagine it's very satisfying to hold a stack of paper representing this is the work that went into this book. I have a physical artifact of the actual art that could be put in a gallery. I have to imagine how satisfying that it feels. And I'd love to do that myself, but the time frame I'm up against isn't going to permit it. I have to do that entire book in, year and a half. I just don't have the budget for time to do that, so it's going to be all digital. And I'm a little bummed out about it, yeah, but same time, it's like every project is full of trade-offs. So yeah, the Baron von Bear will be colored in Clip Studio Paint. Am I done with green parts? Well, yeah. See, I'm because Becca knows how much goes into doing those watercolored pages, and as practiced as she is, I imagine, yeah, it's like when you start thinking about like the turnaround time that like publishing asks for, it's like, my gosh. I know I would have more fun doing the book in watercolor on paper. I know for sure I would. But I mean, these trade-offs are just like that's another part of the job, right? It's like evaluating what's right for the project, weighing that against like, well, what am I going to enjoy doing the most? And ultimately, I decided that, okay, well, I know I would have more fun if I did it on paper, but I know that I'll be able to successfully meet the deadline. I'm more confident I could successfully meet the deadline if I go with digital. Bleed away a little bit of that. I'm going to see if I can capture it. There we go. Get some yellow in there instead. Hey, Chris. Good to see you again, too. I wouldn't say digital is necessarily faster in my experience. What it affords me is just more flexibility. I mean, like when I finish a painting on, and this is the example I keep going back to, is this painting that I did on watercolor paper like several weeks ago. And I just feel like, okay, there's some values problems with this. And in digital, it would be trivial for me to just like select the flats underneath and go, okay, well, let's put a dark wash over top of it and make these other parts pop more. Whereas with this, it's like, it's a little trickier to go in after the fact. I mean, I'm sure somebody with more skill in traditional watercoloring could do it, but it was things like that that sort of like helped make up my mind. I guess that would be a more fair way to put it, is that I'm not confident that my skills with a watercolor palette and brush are up to the challenge of doing 200 pages of art in a really fast turnaround. Oh, thank you, Chris. I mean, I think it turned out okay, but like I said, I think there's some issues with these foreground elements popping out more. Either they need to be darkened or the background needs to be darkened. I'm not sure which, but you know, it's like I did a digital version of this and I was like, okay, that flexibility made things go smoother, if not necessarily faster, if that makes sense. All right, what am I going to do? I think I want to do my yellows now. I need to clean off an area on my palette here. I got too much stuff going on. Got so much green in that yellow. I know, Chris. That's the thing. That's what I was really struggling with, is like the thought of having 200 pages. Well, I mean, the example I often go to is years ago, Ben Hatke had an exhibition of art from his children's book Nobody Likes a Goblin at the Ann Arbor District Library during the Ann Arbor Comic Arts Festival one year. And seeing all those pages in frames on the wall is like, oh my gosh, that is really slick. It looks so good. And I was like, I kind of want to have original art that I can put on the wall. As a matter of fact, some of these paintings I've done, Anne just recently framed one of them and put it in our kitchen. It's like, it's just so cool to see your art like on a wall like that. I get it. I agree. I understand. It's like, when I think about, I wouldn't call myself an exceptionally anxious person. But when it comes to my deadlines and when it comes to my professional comics work, I get really, really wound tight. And so when I think about managing a deadline, I'm like, there's no way. I just don't want to not ship this. Like, that is unacceptable. I can't do it. And at the same time, I don't want to beat myself into oblivion trying to make the deadline. So I don't want to crush it. I want to do it in a pleasant and meaningful way. And I mean, that's why when I was deciding how to change gears for my live streams, I said, okay, well, the public one that I do 2 a week. I do one on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., the one I'm doing right now, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Let's not be preferential. I know it's different times in other places. And then I do one that is only for my Patreon supporters, and that's on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And I decided, okay, well, the public one is going to be the mostly just working with analog watercolors. And I'm going to focus on just practicing my watercoloring skills on characters that I like drawing, following a theme of cute characters who are brave. Oh, Chris, you yeah. I don't know if you're quoting the recent Lena to Art that Rob and I did, where I broke into like a obnoxious, physical trainer person. Eat your goals and poop them out. But yeah, I don't want to do that. I've got my issues with that kind of approach. Okay, now get some more yellow in here because I'm going to do a little bit of orange shading. How much time I got? 13 minutes. Right here. A little more. I think I need more orange. Almost there. Tools and doing applied research for Baron von Baer. Bit of indigo. I switched to my other camera so you can actually watch me license the music to use on YouTube and things like that. And this track that I put together, I didn't make it. I just they give you sliders, like more of this, less of that. And this track always makes me think of like advertisements for pharmaceuticals. Humira. Get more out of it. I might not use it in my weekly rotation anymore. Ask your doctor. Adalimumab. They'll have music like that. Smaller brush in here. Yeah, yes, you have to have. I'm sorry about the stream conk out on YouTube. That's weird. Interesting. I'll have to watch what's going on with my YouTube when I'm done. But yes, you have to have the reading the side effects really fast. Which okay, I'm gonna get a little old man cranky right now about this. In my early 20s, I worked at an AM radio station, which looked just like the place where Weird Al Yankovic had his UHF station in the movie UHF. I mean, it was like in the middle of nowhere, and it was just like a radio tower, this kind of run-down old building. And my job there was pretty much just to watch the satellite feed, because it was mostly satellite-fed content, and just make sure the satellite feed was going, and then twice an hour, turned off the satellite feed and play some local radio ad spots, and then pot the satellite feed back up. But one of the other jobs that I had was reading the fine print for car commercials, or for car dealerships. And you hear people just blasting through those on the radio. They say 700 words a second, And I remember, as somebody who grew up again on Transformers, and one of his favorite characters was Blur, who was voiced by the Micro Machine Man, who in 7th and 8th grade practiced talking like the Micro Machine Man because he thought he was so cool. Yeah, I know. That tells you a lot about me. But I felt like when they told me that was my job, and it was like a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and it's really tough to make changes to try to get it right in the first go, I was like, this is what I was born for. And so, yeah, I actually, 26 years ago, I used to do basically what they do in the side effect mentions in those pharmaceutical commercials. But now that they can actually speed it up digitally. They got the tools to do that. And they probably had it back then, but not at the radio station where I worked. Yeah, Joseph, I was not great at that job. It sounds like the easiest job in the world, but I missed my spot so many times. There was awkward bits where I was potting up the satellite feed when they're in mid-sentence, and I'd get a call from the station manager. What are you doing? You sleeping? No. All right. Cosmos. These are light blue. Almost done. Yeah, literally, Chris, that was what I was doing when I was in 7th grade. Just practicing lines like that over and over again. And if somebody were asking me, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? Some kids cut their hair into mohawks and learn how to skateboard. I practice talking like John Machida. Whoops. Almost there. Gotta get my yellow outline. Which I'm going to do is more of an orange. Rim light, I should say. Outline. What am I? Oh no! Got paint on my finger and I got it on the board. I want to sell this if possible. Oh no! I introduce myself as a comic artist. I haven't done that in forever. I haven't used that term in a long time, and mostly because of that. Because especially when Ann and I were first dating, And I would meet her relatives and like, so what? You tell jokes? No, I make comic books. Also, I stopped using that term just because it is imprecise in explaining what I do. I'm not. Yeah, 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 Chris. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm going to trim it a little tighter, because that's not good. You know, I've got a piece of watercolor paper right here, so I can see if I can get that blue out of this brush. Am I almost out of water? No, I got plenty of water left. Well, I was going to try to put a little outline around him anyway. But yeah, I'm going to trim this a little bit smaller. So, all right, deep breath as we dive into the final. Oh, we're already over an hour. Well, I'll just take a couple minutes to just put some color behind him. Usually I try to put a geometric shape, but this time I'm not. I'm just going to try to do something a little bit more organic to sort of work against the sort of a rich orange. Oh, where do I sell these? Thanks for asking, Mike. Oh my gosh! Thank you for teaching me about how to like properly do my job. My goodness, where do I sell these? You could get them at my Tiny Astronaut or Etsy store rather, which is you can get to going to tinyastronaut.com, and you can see some past paintings I've done in there, as well as some of the other mini comics that I make. Tinyastronaut.com. Oh, I got so involved in what I was doing here. Thank you for that, Mike. I owe you one. And I got to wrap this up pretty soon because I got to move on to some other tasks today. Hope the beginning of everybody's week is going good. Well, either way, Mike, I appreciate the nudge because, yeah, I had every intention of talking about like where you can get this, but I was like I got so involved in racing the clock and trying to talk about what I'm doing and trying to save the drawing as it was falling apart on me. That is too thick over there. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Get this brush cleaned off real fast. Quickly as I can anyway. So I can just get some clear water to drop there. Again, next time, I'm going to make sure to have a little glass of water. Because these napkins are not doing it. I want this to be able to bleed out someplace. A little brush for this last part. And then I'm wrapping this up. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me and chatting while I do this. I do this Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, noon 30 Central, 10:30 a.m. Pacific. And if you are watching this on YouTube, getting a thumbs up helps more people find it. Thank you for doing that. If you haven't subscribed yet, you know the drill. And if you're watching on other platforms that don't allow you to hit anything besides follow, tell a friend. That'd be helpful to me too. So there's a guy doing really cool paintings on YouTube. Check him out. I think that might be it. Can I tell you more about the Captain Seriously book? Sure. I'll show you where you can find it, because actually you can read my 10th grade edition of the book. From that, it's at, let me pull up a page so you can see it. Seriously, Chelsea. It's srslychelsea.org. And I will pull up the comic book page that they have. It actually tells you all about the project. So, it's right here. That's at SRSLY, as in the text language for seriously, Yarly, Chelsea. So seriouslychelsea.org, and there's a page they have that show all the comic books that you can read, and it has all the information about like children, and then I get to hand them correspond with it. But